This is Jeremiah 26, part 2. Going down to verse 12, Jeremiah is going to respond to these people who say that he can't preach God's message because it makes them look bad, because it highlights that their city is evil and that they're evil and their offspring are going to be evil. Then Jeremiah said to all the officials of the people, "The Lord sent me to prophesy against this house and this city all the things you have heard. Now reform your ways and your actions and obey the Lord your God. Then the Lord will relent and not bring the disaster he has pronounced against you." So notice he's saying to obey God. Now who's giving him God's instructions? He is. So what he's saying is to obey God through him. What Jeremiah is saying in Jeremiah chapters 26 and otherwise is to obey God through him. That's the only way to obey God. There's false prophets like Hananiah. We'll get to that in other chapters. Okay, but Jeremiah is saying to obey him. Obey God through him. Okay, that's key here. That's what I'm saying now, to obey God through me. The only one doing the right thing, and it's clear cut. It's even called clear cut, right? Martial arts, the sword of scripture. Mind, body, soul, spirit, spar and spirit, it's clear cut. Transferable skills from sparring. Okay. All right, so he says, "Now reform your ways and your actions and obey the Lord your God. Then the Lord will relent and not bring the disaster he has pronounced against you. As for me, I am in your hands. Do with me whatever you think is good and right. Be assured, however, that if you put me to death, you will bring the guilt of innocent blood on yourselves and on this city, and on those who live in it. For in truth the Lord has sent me to speak to you to speak all these words in your hearing." Then the officials and all the people said to the priests and the prophets, "This man should not be sentenced to death. He has spoken to us in the name of the Lord our God." Now, this is interesting, right? They had to think about the details. They knew why he was saying. He was prophesying on behalf of God, and they knew it. But they needed the details to be broken down. People often criticize me saying that I'm telling people a lot of what they know already, but they don't appreciate it, and we have to build up toward it. How do we get to 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4? If you're teaching a child, you have to build up to 1 plus 1 equals 2, plus 1 equals 3, plus 1 equals 4. It's similar when we're talking about these religious ideas. Okay, so what are the consequences if you don't obey God through me? How are you living your lives right now? Okay, as you're confused and the news is distracting you, what's going on with the homelessness and the starvation and the murder and the crimes and the inflation, okay, and the domestic violence and the exploitation and the institutional racism and injustice, okay? You need it broken down and organized in your mind effectively. The truth to be organized in your mind effectively and take it component by component and then put it together and show you the sum total package of the situation to give you the optimum chance that you need for your hearts to turn to God before it's too late. Okay. Then the officials and all the people said to the priests and the prophets, "This man should not be sentenced to death. He has spoken to us in the name of the Lord our God." Some of the elders of the land stepped forward and said to the entire assembly of the people, "Micah of Moresheth prophesied in the days of Hezekiah king of Judah. He told all the people of Judah, this is what the Lord Almighty says: Zion will be plowed like a field, Jerusalem will become a heap of rubble, the temple mound will be overgrown with thickets." Did Hezekiah king of Judah or anyone else in Judah put him to death? Did not Hezekiah fear the Lord and seek his favor? And did not the Lord relent, so that he did not bring the disaster he pronounced against him? We are about to bring a terrible disaster on ourselves. Now Uriah son of Shemaiah from Kirath Jearim was another who prophesied in the name of the Lord. He prophesied the same thing against the city and this land as Jeremiah did. When King Jehoiakim and all his officers and officials heard his words, the king was determined to put him to death. But Uriah heard of it and fled in fear to Egypt. King Jehoiakim, however, sent Elnathan, son of Achbor, to Egypt along with some other men. They brought Uriah out of Egypt and took him to King Jehoiakim, who had him struck down with a sword, and his body his body thrown into the burial place of the common people. So they went after him, took him from Egypt, struck him down with a sword, and threw him in the burial place of the common people. Furthermore, Ahikam, son of Shaphan, supported Jeremiah, and so he was not handed over to the people to be put to death.